Hello, and welcome to the Miracle Neighborhood Podcast. I'm Jennifer Glazer. Thank you for listening and giving me your time today. Well, I wanted to share more episodes by now, but the truth is, since the fires, life has been heavier than I expected. Navigating this new normal with my family has taken more time, energy, and patience than I imagined. But today we're here, and that's all that matters. This podcast has always been about stories, about rebuilding, resilience, and the human side of a disaster. But rebuilding doesn't happen without accountability, and accountability doesn't happen without hard questions. So today, we're doing both. It's officially been 1 year since the fires tore through the Malibu, Palisades, and Altadena communities. In the Palisades alone, about 5,400 single family homes burned. Nearly 7,000 total structures were lost, and 12 lives were senselessly taken, as well as pets. These aren't just statistics and numbers, they were loved ones. They were family. They were memories that are now shattered and entire neighborhoods reduced to ash. So, where are we now? And how are we really doing? On the 1 year anniversary, something powerful happened. The Let Us Burn protest was organized by a coalition of Palisades residents led by homeowner and local advocate Jeremy Powderwar. Residents, business owners, employees, and families came together not just to remember, but to demand answers. The mood was clear: frustrated, heartbroken, exhausted, and ready for change. The movement outlined 10 imperatives: a 5 year mansion tax exemption for burned areas, sales tax waivers on building materials and labor, suspension of property taxes until homes are livable again, permit fee waivers, rebuilding and refilling of the Santa Ynez Reservoir, repairing fire hydrants, implementing underground electrical wiring, reinstating the local police substation, and proactive brush clearance. They opposed policies that would replace single family lots with high density housing and demanded better insurance protections and transparency around how our property taxes are being used, especially since emergency services failed when we needed them the most. These weren't radical demands. They were basic support. In fact, most of this should have been implemented initially. If they were, we wouldn't have had so much devastation. As I record this, I hear a helicopter circling overhead, and it brings me back to that day, that fateful day, and my chest is tightening. Fear doesn't leave easily. I no longer feel confident that my city and my leaders have my back, that our services are ready to go, or that we have a real evacuation plan in place. The reservoir is still empty. The fire hydrants haven't been repaired. Not much has changed. So why would I feel safe? Now let's talk about the fire aid funds. According to the House Judiciary Committee, the first $75 million of the $100 million raised did not go directly to the victims as advertised. It went to 188 nonprofit organizations. Some focused on voter engagement, political advocacy, unionization, and administrative salaries. That is not what many residents were led to believe. People thought they were helping families rebuild. Instead, the money went elsewhere. Transparency isn't optional, it's essential. So, how much has actually been rebuilt? As of now, about 417 homes have begun new construction. Only 2 homes are fully rebuilt. 2. One of them, a spec home with permits approved before the fires. Between insurance disputes, material shortages, geological reports, and approvals from up to 16 different departments, rebuilding here isn't just slow, it's exhausting and almost impossible. One small change can set a homeowner back weeks. For my family, this year didn't feel like 12 months. It felt like 2 years compressed into one. When the fires came, it felt unreal, like watching someone else's life unravel. We went from running for our lives to living out a suitcase to bouncing between 3 different temporary homes in a matter of weeks. Eventually, we returned, first to remediate, then to a home still standing, surrounded by devastation. But we knew how lucky we were. So many families had nothing to come back to. My first drive back to the Palisades felt like entering a war zone, an apocalyptic state. The day I first entered our town, it was so ominous. Dark, gray skies above. Buildings and cars were still smoldering. Then eventually, the government checkpoints arrived. National Guard members, long lines off PCH. We were assigned letters based on our home's location. PPE supplies were handed out, and water and meals were provided while we stayed in line, as it took hours. And once we were cleared, we were given 15 minutes inside our homes. Police escorts led us through streets of ash and silence. The charred cars, the melted signs, entire blocks erased. On Sunset Boulevard, the ocean stretched out farther than I'd ever seen it, uninterrupted by the buildings that used to be there. It was stunning and appalling. Landmarks, friends' homes, grocery stores, shopping centers, banks, libraries, churches were gone. The local Chabad was ruined. Schools decimated. Marquez Elementary was reduced to one concrete wall. But the rainbow mural on it, it still stood, defiant, unbroken, offering signs of hope. When I turned onto our street, gratitude washed over me, then guilt. Our home survived. My in-laws and my friends did not. Even now, a year later, I still get disoriented driving through town. The map of my life has drastically changed. We decided we would move back as soon as it was safe, which brought its own set of problems. I started to get to work. Every day meant school drop-offs, long checkpoint lines, coordinating contractor access, and trying to hold life together. Anxiety lived in my chest. While at home alone, the loneliness filled our home, and it was just too difficult to bear. Residents were rare. Many had nothing to return to. The silence was eerie. No cars parked on the street, only empty trash bins knocked over, rolling around aimlessly. No birds chirping, no dogs barking, no voices of life, just charcoal-colored mountains. One day, I saw a coyote run down the street. Emaciated, desperate, with scorched fur and a mohawk lining the entire spine of his body, where the fire had touched its sides. Yearning for company and signs of life, I would head into town to surround myself by EPA workers, police officers, firefighters, and the Army Corps of Engineers. I ate at free food trucks, grateful, hungry, and craving human connection. At night, auto-timed Christmas lights glowed in the homes that survived, but instead of warmth, they brought a quiet sadness. Sometimes those lights were the only sign a home had made it through. A single glow in the far distance in a sea of darkness. Once we returned home to live, I called our neighborhood the Truman Show, like the film. Some streets looked untouched. Bright green lawns, blue skies, tall trees, manicured landscaping. It felt staged, like a movie set. But outside that bubble, reality hit hard. Burned appliances, twisted metal, skeletons of cars, reminders of what was lost. Debris trucks worked nonstop. Law enforcement arrived, first to protect fire victims and our community from looky-loos and looters, but then to ticket residents. On my drives to and from town, it became a strange ritual to count CHP vehicles. How many will I see today? How many residents will I see get pulled over or ticketed? There was no manual for navigating a burn zone. Signs and cones changed constantly. More than a dozen intersections were turned into flashing four-way stops. Confusion was everywhere, and yet almost everyone I knew got a ticket. It was like rubbing salt in a wound. I felt like a witness to something too big to process. Then the flags appeared, American flags, lining the streets, a massive one draped over a burned home with only large pillars standing off Sunset Boulevard. The American Legion flag still flying, tattered but defiant, and a grassroots flag emerged. The message, Palisades, don't quit. Hope slowly turned into anger. Signs followed. Bass resign now. Storefronts posted letters on their windows of disapproval. And unexpectedly, Spencer Pratt, who lost his home as did his parents, emerged as a courageous and unabashed advocate, channeling community frustration into a mission and a call for change, recently announcing his run for mayor. When people lose everything, silence is no longer an option. If there's one thing I'm most proud of, though, it's our kids. They adapted. They endured. They grieved. They went to school in a former Sears department store building. My son learned metro bus routes just to stay connected to friends. He got an e-bike so he could have independence during months of isolation when very, very few families were nearby. They showed resilience beyond their years. Slowly, progress came in small, meaningful ways. A gas station reopened, our beloved garden cafe in the village, Moku Sushi, Spruzzo Italian, Chipotle and Prima Mexican restaurants, CVS, Ruby's Nails, Boca Boutique, and finally, a school, Marquez Charter Elementary, and Palisades Charter High is expected to return at the end of January. It's not normal yet, not even close, but it's a beginning. Still, uncertainty lingers as many businesses and families need financial support. Few homes are rebuilt. Insurance disputes continue. Red tape remains thick. Time is especially unkind to the elderly, to those with limited resources, to families stuck between loss and possibility. Rebuilding will take years. And when the Palisades return, what will it be? Will it keep its small town charm or become something unfamiliar? My younger children may graduate before this town is fully restored. They won't just grow up here, they'll witness the rebuilding. The Palisades we remember will not be the one that returns, but our children will see what rises from what was lost. When I question why or how our neighborhood survived, I see the answers at times. Our neighborhood has become a sanctuary. Families are returning, and new families are emerging as they rebuild nearby. This neighborhood is the foundation of hope and the catalyst for recovery. People are jogging, walking dogs, and children are laughing and playing again. Nature has found a way, and the mountains are green and lush. With our community gatherings growing larger every month, it's clear that this neighborhood is the heartbeat of our recovery, and we are holding the fort and nurturing the seeds for everyone yet to return. Thank you for listening. Your voice matters. This neighborhood still believes in miracles. And if you have a story to share, please reach out at miracleneighborhood@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. Be safe, and thank you again for listening.